Alright, so hi y'all, it's Tiff. I have literally just walked into my apartment. I still have my backpack on my shoulder. When I tell y'all we had us a time in dialysis today, baby, we had us a fucking time today. So, now I done been on dialysis for a great many years, almost 20 years. And I done seen people come and go. I done seen people have good times in there. I done seen people have bad times in there. Hell, I done had me some good times and bad times in there. Y'all remember me knocking the shit out that nurse named Rita? Yeah. So I done had me a good time and I had me a bad time. So, I saw a lady today. And honestly, I would bet money that she's not going to come back. So, I walked into dialysis today. And there was already a woman in the lobby. Older woman, I want to say about maybe 55, 60 years old, walking with a cane. Kind of heavy set, kind of looked like she know her way around a pot of greens. She looked like one of them people that can cook good. So, what drew my attention to her first was how heavily she was breathing. Like, y'all done heard me breathe heavy when I had too much fluid on. She had a heavy, sort of wet-sounding way she was breathing. So in my mind, I was like, okay, she round. She probably got a lot of fluid on, whatever. So when you start dialysis, you have to sign all of the consent forms. Like I had to do that a long time ago, many moons ago when I first started dialysis. At that particular clinic so they can have all of your information and stuff on file. So Leafy called her, that's the receptionist. Leafy called the lady back and said, hey, we need you to fill these papers out. I could see her through the window filling the paper out. I didn't think nothing else about her. Didn't think no more else about her. They called me back. I get on, I start doing my treatment. So, I'm on my computer with my headphones on, playing Michael Jackson music. I'm writing on my story. I did pretty good writing today. That's beside the point. So, when I reached the stopping point with my story, I left my headphones on, started playing funny videos. So, now, while this was going on, while I had my headphones in, one of the nurses had a little Bluetooth speaker that was playing random songs. I heard Michael Jackson, I heard Dolly Parton, I heard Elvis, just random songs playing off of her Pandora. So I didn't think nothing of it when I heard a scream. I was just like, oh, she's probably listening to Prince. Because, Prince screams in his music quite a lot. I said, oh, that must be Prince, a Prince song playing. So the screaming continued. And, the little warning bells in my head started going off. Hey, hey, hey. Something is happening here. Take your headphones the fuck off, Tiffany. Which I did, because, I'm nosy. I had to know what was going on. So, in the meantime, while I'm pulling my stuff off and, I can see all the other patients around the room starting to lean in and, kind of like, well, what's going on over here? So, I couldn't see who it was from where I was sitting, because I was in the far corner of the floor, and the person was on the same side but further down, way further down. So all of a sudden I just hear this. I've never heard a scream like this outside of a horror film. Like, y'all ever see the movies where somebody's child dies, like that deep, guttural, heart-wrenching screaming that they do? When somebody's like, oh, well, there was an accident, your kid didn't make it, that type of just, what do they call it? A primal scream. That's what that is. That primal scream. That's what the fuck was happening over there. So, at first, all I was just hearing was just screaming, screaming, screaming. And then I started to make sense of what she was saying. She was saying, I can't do this. I can't do this. I looked and you could see the nurses clustered around her. That's why I couldn't see who it was at first. And all I kept hearing was, I can't do this. I can't do this. She was just like shouting that over and over and over and over again. And I'm not even writing horror right now, but I do want to utilize a scream like that in one of my horror stories one day. But I'm getting away from the point. She was screaming. She was screaming. This ordeal went on for a good 10 to 15 minutes. The entire floor stopped. Now, here's where it gets funny. Because, I just said, I know everybody's watching this and they're like, well, Tiffany, you just said that this woman is screaming like somebody didn't actually drop dead in her family. What the fuck is funny about this? Enter Leanne. She has been the nutritionist at our clinic for about maybe 2 years now. I've spoken about her before. She's the one I say that looks like a little fairy. Very slim, cute little white woman. So I noticed Leanne walking around the perimeter of the room while, we're having a nervous breakdown over here. And so she comes to me and she's like, "Hi, Miss Butler." And I'm like, "Hey, Leanne." And she's leaving. Today was her last day. So she's literally going around saying her goodbyes to all of the patients she's taking care of while mayhem is breaking out like 6 chairs down from me. And I started laughing. She started laughing. I said, "Well, we can't laugh about this right now." And she's like, "I know, we're terrible." So I'm glad at least we ended, us knowing each other laughing. But that other woman, she carried on for the longest. It was just like, I can't do it. I don't want to do this. I can't go on. I don't want to do this. And, the nurses are trying to talk her down. And so finally, because my machine is still alarming. "Hey, Tiffany is done with treatment. Come take her off so she can go home." And, finally the nurses was able to disperse and come see about me and, start taking me out. So, of course, I'm nosy. I asked, I said, "Well, what the fuck is happening down there?" And the nurse was like, "Oh, this is a new patient." And I was like, "Is the woman in the green?" And she said she wasn't paying attention, but another nurse was, had said yes, that it was a lady in the green. And so I asked, I said, "Well, what's the problem happening over there?" Because, your first dialysis treatment is, it's never pleasant. You're trying to get into the swing of things. You got new people poking at you. They're trying to figure out how your arm works. You're trying to get familiar with everybody. I've never seen a performance like this. She said this is this lady's first treatment. Her first ever dialysis treatment. And I assume nobody told her about the cramping, because that's what the problem was. She started cramping. Now keep in mind, I did mention that this was a larger woman. So the thing about dialysis, and how I always say, "Oh, I have X amount of kilos on, I have to get X amount of kilos off of me." That is not a certainty. We're guessing. We're guesstimating. We don't truly know how much anybody weighs until they cramp. It's terrible to say that, but that's the actual truth. You don't know what your limit is until you cramp. So, I know what my limit is. My limit is 5 kilos. We tried to pull for 5.5 one day. I gave a similar performance. You can still see I'm a little chubby. I still have a little bit more fluid on me that needs to get off. But it's only about 3 kilos that I need to get off. And I'm going Wednesday because I had an okay time in dialysis the other day. Today. But that has to be absolutely frightening. This is your first time. This is your first experience with the treatment. This is your first experience with any of these people in this clinic. Your first everything in an unfamiliar setting, and this happens. Because I will be honest with you. I took my first dialysis treatment in the ICU at the hospital. So, I don't know, perhaps she had that done in the hospital before then, but I don't think so. Just going by how she reacted. I did my first 5 or 6 treatments in the ICU at the hospital. And I didn't cramp up. I was throwing up like there was no tomorrow, but I didn't cramp up. And I just remember having the bucket in my head and the bucket, throwing up, and my dad patting me on the back because that's all he could think to do. And, I didn't cramp up until I started, doing the regular treatments like I do at the clinic now. But yeah, that's some scary shit. And here's the thing about cramping. I have had parts of my body cramp that I didn't know were capable of cramping. I always talk about that one area below my right breast. I don't even know what's there, but it will cramp up. My back has cramped up. Places in my back has cramped up. My feet cramp up. My legs cramp up. That's common, the feet and legs thing. Cramping up. I don't know. I just cramp in weird places. And, I feel badly for her. Hopefully when she comes in Wednesday, if she comes in Wednesday, they can change her dry weight and most definitely raise whatever it was. Because whatever they were trying to pull, she most definitely could not tolerate that. At all. Absolutely not. And, I literally feel bad for anybody who was walking outside of the clinic and heard this. Because I'm quite sure they thought somebody was getting straight up murdered in there. But yeah, it's not... I feel badly for her. Because she came out and she was, apologizing to the nurse for causing her scene and everything. But dialysis ain't for the weak. Dialysis is not for the weak. The only reason I'm still in dialysis is out of sheer spite. Because I want to meet Terrell Jackson before I die. That's my motivation for getting up in the morning. I have a picture of Terrell on my dresser behind me. And I see his little face screaming into the microphone when I get up. And I'm like, I got to meet him. And how can Tiffany meet him? Tiffany has to stay alive and healthy. How does Tiff accomplish that? Fucking dialysis. But yeah, we had us a time in dialysis today. We had us a time in dialysis today, y'all. And sure as shit, I would have filmed it. But I don't feel like getting reprimanded again. But when I assure you it's like something out of a horror movie. I know everybody watching this has seen Hereditary. When the little funny faced little girl, Charlie, when her head gets knocked off and her mother finds out about, Charlie getting killed and her head being lopped off and there's still a headless body in the brother's car, the sound the mother made, that's how that woman sounded. That's the closest I can point you in the direction of what I was hearing. That, and then one day I was visiting my mother in the hospital years ago, and I heard a commotion in the nurse's station. I was in my mother's hospital room. And screaming, hollering, yelling, crying. Somebody called a woman at work, one of the nurses at work, told her brother had gotten killed. They should not have done that over the phone. But yeah, that's the way she reacted sounded exactly like this woman. Just like that primal scream. So yeah, that was how my day went. How was your day? I'm going to order some Domino's because I'm hungry. Take care of your kidneys, kids. Because you do not want to be the subject of one of my videos. Bye-bye.